Oh, man. What is up, Gamecock Nation? Apologize about the setup. We kind of just got done watching some TC stuff. We're not going to be doing any of that tonight. This is kind of the first ever rebranded show of the Carolina View that we rebranded with the main purpose, if you're the first time joining us, which I don't like doing these shows live, but your boy don't know how to work technology, so we got to figure that out. But we're just going to talk a little bit of things heading into recapping the 2025 season and throwing it in the trash, essentially, and just being done with it. Seems like it is a year that all hopes were high on 9-3, 10-2 playoff season, LaNorris Sellers hype. And then it kind of just didn't go your way at all, in any way, shape, or form. And at the end of it, it kind of seemed like it's time to throw in the trash or throw it in the trash. Not only throw it in the trash, but we were ready or some were ready as a fan base to throw Shane Beamer out. There's still people that want to throw Shane Beamer out. And I'm not here telling you whether you were right or wrong. You are a fan. You have that opinion. And you deserve to have that opinion. As a fan base who has constantly supported this football program, and I've watched it from an unbiased perspective, as a fan base that definitely deserves consistency, and not consistency in the losing aspect, but in the winning aspect. And it kind of seemed like dull for a little bit, and people were getting nervous. And then all of a sudden, there's some rumors popping up, which we're going to hit on a little bit tonight, about Kendall Briles possibly being the next OC. Nothing is quote unquote finalized yet. I think it was reported by On3 or West, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all, that essentially there's a BOT tomorrow morning that is finalizing or looking to address coaching hires. Sorry. And we'll look into that and kind of what the Kendall Briles era of South Carolina might look like. We're going to take a sneak peek. We're not going to look at film. We've done that enough this year at LaNorris Sellers and what exactly the film told me from last year to this year. And we even sat down with some former players, a couple of them that wish to not be named, and out of respect, we will not, and see what they saw from a perspective, and not necessarily Carolina players, but that players that have played in other schools and have gone on to play in the league as well as starters in the league. So we got some of their opinions. Like I said, we're going to talk about the Briles era, what that can kind of look like. We're also going to spend just a little bit of time about my portal shopping list, if I had any say-so what the University of South Carolina would do when it comes to the portal. And then we're going to finish off with a quick glance at this 2026 schedule that the University of South Carolina has. So we thank you for joining us. Sorry for that long spiel. If you're here for the first time, thank you very much. Like we said, we are building a brand. I used to work for Sports Illustrated with Gamecocks Digest. Life happened. Couldn't really do both. Couldn't life and work that the way it was needed. Kind of wanted to redo this past season because I missed it. I am not a Carolina fan. I am a football fan, and I love good football. And while there wasn't much of that this year, unfortunately, I want to be able to build a platform independently that you fans could come and get that others just do not provide. So we're trying to grow that. We're trying to grow not only our platform, but the content we provide, get a better view for you, better cameras for you, better microphones for you, all that good stuff. With the goal being just to cover South Carolina and help educate the fans on film analysis, essentially. And jumping straight into that, before I even look at the notes here that we've talked about with a couple of the former players, I'll put the phone there for just a second. Last year to this year, what was different about LaNorris Sellers? And I kept asking myself that, and I kept asking myself that, and I kept watching. There was 3 games that I went and watched last year was LaNorris Sellers, was Alabama, Clemson, and I believe it was Oklahoma. I can't remember if it was Oklahoma. And then this year, I watched the Alabama game, watched the Clemson game. It was Clemson last year, sorry, and Clemson this year. And long story short, and I wanted to verify this before I just ran my mouth on this, and a lot of people aren't going to like this answer. While I am very critical of LaNorris Sellers as a reader of the field, has a decent amount of ways to go as someone who needs to learn to progress, which isn't necessarily your job as the University of South Carolina to necessarily prepare him to make 1, 2, 3 takeoff kind of reads. It's your job to win football games. And I think that was a little bit different than the previous year, 2024 to this year. So one, the identity alone, kind of you saw that fallback in LaNorris Sellers. Now, we're not making any excuses for him. We're not making any excuses for the university. But just from a pure film perspective, you could see in his body language while he was playing a difference in LaNorris Sellers. 2024, there was a whole lot of confidence, a swagger about him that if a big play needed to be made, he felt like he could go make it. The biggest connection that I saw or difference that I saw from 2024 to 2025 were two things. One, he had an escape plan in 2024. When we dropped back, typically he did no more than 3-step drop backs in that OC or in that offensive identity. He either had that read or he was ready to go and he knew where he was going, whether it would be leaking out and going up lateral, whether it be going straight up the middle, whatever the case may be, he had a plan. This year, it's almost as if he was so worried about the rush that we didn't have a plan. We just reacted, which can be a good thing every now and then. But then it can also lead to what you saw this year with a lot of unnecessary sacks, a lot of unnecessarily running out of bounds 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage instead of throwing it away. And again, y'all, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the offensive line was even good this year. We will give them average, as they did improve slightly towards the end of the year, still having problem with stunts. But nonetheless, the same problems were there last year with LaNorris Sellers. So that led me to the second point. And a lot of people don't like this, but again, from just a pure film perspective, 2024, nobody really understood or knew what you were going to get from LaNorris Sellers. You were still learning. And then Clemson last year decided they were going to try to spy him. And they did. Not only did they spy him, they did spy him, they just could not tackle him when they had the chance to. This year, they played a lot of man free. Y'all just cover one man and a lot of cover three. They essentially, on a majority of the snaps, had both linebackers sitting and spying LaNorris. Now, again, I know a lot of people are going to sit here and think that's an excuse to defend LaNorris, and it's not. Because, again, y'all, there's a lot that he has to work on moving in the next year. Whether he's at the University of South Carolina, whether he's at a new university, it doesn't particularly matter. Just from a film perspective, 2024 to 2025, that's your big difference, is a lot of teams spying. And not only that, y'all, again, if South Carolina left the backer in to block against Clemson, both linebackers sat right there and stared down LaNorris Sellers. You aren't beating that. Well, you can beat maybe a spy. And again, there were a couple design quarterback runs, which spies are irrelevant on design quarterback runs. But in obvious passing downs, when you've got 2 watching and you've got 4 rushing, which again, another thing that was on the film, how Clemson did a good job of just containing Sellers. They didn't over pursue. They just condensed the pocket and forced him, if you're going to go, you're going to have to go out. We'll get you. And if you manage to squeeze in through the gap going up, well, guess what? We got 2 backers sitting there. And those linebackers made 3 or 4 amazing tackles. So looking at that, I saw one thing is very clear. Last year's Sellers and this year's Sellers was a confidence thing. We can blame it on the offensive line. We can blame it on the offensive identity. But at the end of the day, the defenses changed. They adapted. they I'm having a brain fart on the word of what I'm trying to say, but my brain is just not working right now. But y'all, those defenses learned to go ahead and this is what we need to do to stop LaNorris Sellers. Right now, we don't necessarily fear him as a consistent pocket passer. Let's make him that. And that's what teams tried to do this year. Every now and then at the beginning of the year, it worked pretty well. He was having great success in the intermediate game. And then after that hit against Vanderbilt, things kind of start going downhill. So I took all that information and I went and threw it at a couple of guys, 2 or 3 guys, and asked them, what are your thoughts? Guys that have played in the NFL, guys that have played in the collegiate level, both at the group of 5 level, Big Ten. Well, now, yeah, they're still Big Ten now. And somewhere else. I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart with that too. But y'all, essentially the big thing that came out with them is one of them was just body language itself. Not sitting here telling you LaNorris Sellers didn't care. Don't take that from this clip. Don't clip this and say, well, this random dude said LaNorris Sellers didn't care this year. Oh, that's not what I'm saying. But it was almost like every now and then you could kind of see, not necessarily defeat, but you could see contentment, if you will, where we weren't necessarily mad or upset when something happened, which, again, most coaches are going to try to tell you, hey, it's a play. We got to get it out and forget that it happened. We got to go move on and make some plays. But this year, consistently, when those things happened, there didn't really seem like an urgency from LaNorris Sellers. And again, when you go back and watch some of those things, there's definitely plays where you can see Sellers is visibly upset. But the things that he tried to do from this year to the previous year is he tried to play hero ball a lot more times. And the other thing was, again, like I kind of noted to you, he focused so much on the pass rush that we weren't necessarily ready or reading what the defense gave us. So that's why you see a lot of sailed passes, because our footwork's not right. That's why you see a lot of missed open guys, because, again, we're so worried about where we're trying to go because of the pass rush, because the offensive line hasn't held well, that, well, we're not really seeing what the field is doing. And, again, a lot of that goes back to offensive identity. So the difference between Sellers last year and this year is quite simple. From my take of the film, from those other players of the film, offensive identity, LaNorris Sellers is not your prototypical pro-style quarterback that can sit there and make 1, 2, 3 reads and then go. He's got to be somebody that you utilize to his ability. LaNorris Sellers has a hell of an arm, can throw the football. We've seen that. So all the deep posts and the go routes to Nick Harbor and Jacobs as well. We've seen his arm talent. He can make the throws. Now, he needs to work on some accuracy issues. A lot of passes deep could have been caught or could have had a better chance of being caught if the placement of the ball is better. I'm not telling you LaNorris Sellers is perfect, but identity had a lot to do with it. Secondly, I like the way it was explained, and I hope I'm going to do it justice. When you're playing offense as a quarterback, you have to play 11 versus 1. And now I know when you hear that, when I heard that, I was like, that's kind of a stupid statement. 11 is going to be 1 every single time. But y'all, the way it was explained, and again, it's the way it happens, for an offensive play to work, you typically need all 11 guys to succeed, to execute, to do their job. On the defensive side, it only takes 1. If one of them does their job, you can blow up a play. And this year, there's seemingly on almost every single snap, or at least 80% of the snaps, South Carolina always had 8 to 9 players against the 1, which makes it a whole lot more easier to succeed 1 versus 8 rather than 1 versus 11. So the identity was the issue. The execution was an issue on all levels. Running back, quarterback, receiver, offensive line, tight end, you name it. It was everywhere. And the last thing that, again, kind of taking my notes, these notes on LaNorris Sellers, is do you want it? Again, this is not sitting here telling you LaNorris Sellers does not want it. For Sellers to be great, he's got to want to go get it. You kind of saw a hunger or a drive last year. I'm not telling you he didn't have that this year. I didn't see it consistently. Oh, and that's not me calling LaNorris Sellers out and demanding that he do better. But I'm not doing that. As a leader of a football program, do better. Get on your O-line guys. Get on our receivers. Get on the tight ends. Get on the running backs. Show me that you care. Again, y'all, I'm not sitting here saying he doesn't. I'm just letting you know 2024, it was all over the place. You saw him get excited. You saw him get angry. You saw him show emotion. This year, not so much. Maybe we wouldn't call that maturity. That's completely fine with me. Maybe that's something the coaching staff has asked of him. Okay, fine. But those are the three things in LaNorris Sellers, what the film says. Can he be great? Absolutely. Can he be the best in a pro-style offense? Absolutely not. Now, and that's where we get into the next segue as I'm trying to bring up these stats for y'all to hear and listen to. And that's kind of segue into Kendall Briles and what that's going to potentially look like at the University of South Carolina. Now, regardless of what you're going to say, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have any inside information at TCU. Heck, I don't have it here at the University of South Carolina. But I can tell you what numbers say, and I can tell you a couple things about Sonny Dykes and all that good stuff. Sonny Dykes. That was his offense. I'm not sitting here telling you that Sonny was the one that chose the plays. Kendall chose the plays, but it wasn't his playbook. Drastic difference. Regardless, at TCU in 2023, y'all, the offensive grades, this is just per PFF, in 2023 was 79.3, which was 26th. It jumped up to 2024 with 81.3, which is 20th. And then it came back down to 79.9. So offensive grades have been successful. And there was another stat as well that pretty much every stop he has made the next year and the year after, you have seen those offenses thrive. He did it at Arkansas with KJ Jefferson. Now, I think that what you saw at Arkansas is going to be more of what you're probably going to see here at the University of South Carolina. I am not comparing KJ Jefferson to LaNorris Sellers. I just think that's a lazy take. Now, they have similar attributes, but I do believe that's the kind of offense that you're going to see, which is going to benefit LaNorris Sellers. Not only LaNorris Sellers, I think a Briles-styled offense, which is the veer and shoot, what TCU was running was not the veer and shoot. Y'all, that is thriving on spreading the field out, condensing those boxes, making the defense honor it, where you have to go play and stop the run with 5-6 men in the box. Kind of look at Tennessee with those wide sets. That's kind of what you're going to get with Kendall Briles. You got guys like Harbor, Jacobs, if he stays, if he can come back. I believe he can come back. You've got guys like Murph. You've got guys like Rowe. There is so much raw talent on this team that can attack deep. That's what you're going to be getting from that. And then it allows your offensive line, who has struggled, to not have to try to block 7, 8, 9 guys, but 5 to 6. I like your odds a little bit better with 5 versus 6 rather than 5 versus 8, or adding a tight end with or playing 12 personnel and having 7, and they're just loading the box anyway with 9. So doing this is going to create opportunities that you just haven't seen in the previous 2 years, running that quote-unquote pro-style offense. And again, talking to some other players, some of the quarterbacks as well that I talked to when we were breaking down LaNorris Sellers, it's the identity of pro-style in college football. You have to be able to consistently recruit at the levels of Ohio State, consistently recruit at the levels of Bama. Georgia, even throw in Oregon, Texas. So and Georgia is more of your pro style-ish, but again, they're not even your traditional pro style anymore. So you have to be able to adapt. And this seemingly is something Shane Beamer is doing. Now, we can give credit to the AD. The AD might have said, hey, let's go get somebody to help you longevity-wise. Because at the end of the day, Shane, this is it. We got to make something happen. Whichever one you want to say it is, cool, whatever. I wasn't in the room, couldn't tell you. Doesn't matter. It's finally looking like a change that a lot of people have been waiting for and feels like they should have done a couple years ago or the previous year, before you took on and promoted Mike Shula. The other thing I do want to say with Kendall is, and I'm, again, my brain fart right now is all over the place. But the running backs coach you're bringing in is a dude. He can recruit his butt off. Now, I know a lot of people are not necessarily excited. The name does not jump out at you at the offensive line, but it also has a lot of and carries a lot of weight when an offensive coordinator can go bring in a guy that is used to his system. My biggest question is going to be, hey, dude, I don't care what your name is. Can you develop? Because I think that's been a major flaw at the University of South Carolina for the 3 years I have been able to watch them closely, if you will. So heading into possibly that Kendall Briles era, I do feel like that is your best chance to succeed and fit a LaNorris Sellers type deal. But for this to work, there's got to be buy-in. There's got to be more aggressiveness from LaNorris Sellers. There's got to be more consistency. And then that leads to the portal. Shane Beamer is going to have to attack the portal, guys. And quite frankly, you need offensive linemen badly. You need trench play badly. Now, matter of fact, I need to back up on that statement because the defensive line for South Carolina as a whole, bravo. Thomas Jr. made an absolute name for himself. Goodwine did extremely well. Barrett did extremely well. Oh, they did good this year. But you need depth and you need consistency in the trenches. And at this point, I don't think you can just go after the 6'8", 315-pound guy and say, big boy, he likes to eat, he can block. No. We need to go, I believe South Carolina needs to go in the direction of what I put on Twitter earlier of athletic maulers. I want a kid that's 6'6", 6'7", maybe like 285, 300, but he is light on his feet. We can move lateral. We can get out to go block on screens. That's what I think you need. I don't think you can continue to settle, and no disrespect to the Ivy League schools or anything like that. I don't think you can bring those kind of players in anymore to start in an SEC offensive line. I just don't think you can. So you got to go get big boys that are proven in competitive play. That's one. And both offensive line and defensive line. That is my top priority. Joseph Griffin's wish list for the transfer portal for South Carolina: 1, offensive line, D-line; 2, running back. I don't think you have any issue with Howell or Fuller. I think they are both really good backs. I think you need a back that can come in and be a consistent down in, down back. I am not telling you Fuller cannot or Howell cannot, but I do think it's never a bad thing to have depth. So I would love to see you go out and get a guy like Baxter that just entered the portal with Texas. Can you? Probably not. That might be too expensive to even mess with. But go get a talented back that is used to competing. I think Fuller can be a really good back, and so can Howell. However, for whatever reason, the touches were very, very limited. For whatever reason, wasn't in the room, can't tell you why they were limited. But it goes offensive line, defensive line. It goes running back, and then for me, it's going to be receiver. I think you need a true X. Now, that is not, again, this is just Joseph Griffin personally. This is not hating on Nick Harbor. I think Nick Harbor is a great receiver. Let me rephrase. He has improved over the past couple of years. There are still aspects of his game that can be better. I don't think we want to make him, let's rely on our X receiver. It's 3rd and 9. I want to go to him. Not just yet. Can he turn into that? Absolutely sure. I want a pure, I need a play guy that to convert the sticks to be on the same field as Nick Harbor. You get what I'm saying? I want South Carolina to go get a true X receiver, 6'3", 6'4" type of receiver. He ain't got to be the fastest guy in the world, but I want him to have some hands, and I want his route running to be crisp. You give me that veer and shoot with that kind of possession, I can go get the sticks kind of play with Nick Harbor on the other side, and then you throw in Rowe, Murph, all of them, Mazio Bennett. I think that's where you can succeed the most, in my humble opinion. Those are the top gets for me. So kind of wrapping all that up, what does South Carolina's schedule or year look like next year? Because at the end of the day, South Carolina is going to have to win. Now, I don't know if you as a fan need X amount of wins. I don't know if you as a fan is saying, like several of them are, which again, I'm not faulting you for this, is Shane Beamer said he was going to make the playoffs. Well, he's got to go make the playoffs. And if he doesn't, he's not coming back. Whatever that looks like for you, here is what the University of South Carolina is staring down next year. If we can pull up the schedule, because apparently for whatever reason, it's not wanting to work. Come on. 22-26 schedule. So the confirmed out-of-conference games, you get 3 this year because they've gone to a 9-game SEC schedule, is Kent State and Towson. You're going to open up the year with those 2. Seemingly should start off 2-0. And then you got 9 straight SEC games, which, by the way, tomorrow, I believe, on Thursday, they're going to announce the order of those for the SEC. But here's who you're going to be facing. You're going at Alabama, at Arkansas, at Florida, at Oklahoma, and then you got Georgia home, Kentucky home, Mississippi State home, Tennessee home, and Texas A&M home, and then you finish the year with Clemson. So way too early look, right? So we know we got 2 wins. Seemingly we should have 2 wins. Boom, boom. Kent State, Towson. Now we can look at Arkansas. We can look at Kentucky. We can look at Mississippi State. And those 3, in my opinion, should be 3 that you should win just in talent alone. So let's just say you get those, you get to 5. Here's where things get a little tricky. Now, let's look at Bama. Let's look at Clemson. Let's look at Georgia. I'm going to put Florida in that I don't know yet pile. Maybe I think that's in between with what I'm talking about now and the Kentuckys of the world. So we got Bama, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Clemson, which again, here's the tricky part of this 2026 schedule. I think the only 2 teams, or really the only 1 team that you can say, probably not, just because of probably they're going to be returning Gunnar Stockton, they're going to be returning Nate Frazier, all those guys. Georgia is a very young team this year. They're coming into your house. That's going to be a tough game to win. Can you win it? Absolutely. Kirby Smart defenses has had trouble stopping dual threat quarterbacks. Insert Jalen Monroe. Insert C.J. Stroud, even though he's not known as a dual threat mobile quarterback. He was able to have success when he was able to take off with his legs. So very well could. I put Georgia in that, put that in that loss column, if you will. So I've got automatically at the way too early, we got 5 wins. We got Towson, Kent State, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. Now, so we're sitting at 5-1 with 5 games left to go. Here's the crazy part. I'm not predicting a 10-2 year. Tennessee, What are they going to look like next year? I don't even know if Joey Aguilar can come back. I need to double check that. Oklahoma, what are they going to look like next year? Alabama, are you even going to have Kalen DeBoer anymore after this year? What are you going to look like next year? Florida, what are you going to look like? So we can throw those up as toss-up games of who in the world even knows what's going to happen. While it looks rough from an outside, if I'm just looking at it on paper, y'all, 4 or 5 of those teams are replacing coaches, replacing quarterbacks. What's it going to look like? Maybe you can throw A&M in that loss column as well in the quote-unquote guaranteed, which I don't think you can do that. But if there's a time to do it, I think it's got to be this year. And at least, like some fans that say, you have to see improvement in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's 8-4, whether that's 9-3, 10-2, playoff, whatever the case may be. I feel like that's what you got to do. But that is going to be a wrap here on the Carolina View. If you made it this long, I appreciate you. Do not forget to like and subscribe, because our main goal here is simple. We want to build a platform independently covering the University of South Carolina that can be free for you. You don't have to pay for paywall information. You don't have to pay for any of that kind of stuff. But to get there, we got to build a brand. We got to be able to be a respectable brand, if you will, and allow the university to take us seriously and get it back in the room like I once was covering for Sports Illustrated. Thank you for being here. I do want to give a quick shout out to, I believe it's Gamecock Russ. Prayers for him and his family with his baby. I do not know him personally, but it does not take you knowing anybody personally to show some love and take some time to care and love others. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the show. See you next year as we break down some Kendall Briles and some of the USC commits that have committed this year. See you next time.